Hi everyone. Once again, welcome to this channel World Knowledge. So, I am here to share more news about the Venezuela and the recent conditions of Venezuela. In this video, you will come to know about that is there any legal justification for the US attack on Venezuela, and now it's their outcomes of Venezuela's new scenarios. Either it will also impact on all over the world, obviously, when US already violated the international law and abducted the Venezuela's president. It will be the also impact that maybe China will think that the country have the right on the Taiwan. So we will see the how international law and experts are expected to Washington to claim self-defense and face little serious pushbacks. Donald Trump said on Saturday morning that US troops had carried out a large-scale strikes on Venezuela and captured its President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. The couple has now been indicted in New York on terrorism and drugs charges. Trump has accused Maduro of running a narco-terrorist organizations. However, the legality of the operations has been called into a question, with even some of Trump's allies suggesting it's violated the international law. The spokesperson of leading experts in this field of international law to ask for their view on the unfolding events of Venezuela. Is the US operations in Venezuela justified under international law? The main questions for all the experts and for also the world. The experts spoke to agree that the US is likely to have violated the terms of the UN Charter, which was signed in October 1945 and designed to prevent another conflict on the scale of the Second World War. A central provisions of the agreement, known as Article 2.4, rules that states must refrain from using military forces against other countries and must respect their sovereignty. How is the US likely to defend its actions? The US may try to urge that it attacked Venezuela in self defense to counter the alleged threat from the narco terrorist organizations. It accuses Maduro of beating both of the UN Charter and its own domestic laws make some provisions for the use of military forces in self defense. However, Robertson said there is no conceivable way America can claim, although no doubt it will, that the action was taken in self defense. If you are going to use self defense, you have to have a real and honest belief that you are about to be attacked by forces. No one has suggested that the Venezuela army is about to attack the United States. The idea that is some sort of drug supreme cannot prevail against the rule that invasion for the sake of regime change is unlawful. You would have to prove those drug traffickers were threatening the sovereignty of the United States. The United States is going to argue vigorously that drug trafficking is and it's killing many people. And also, we yet agree, but a lot of international law experts have been looking at this, and there was not even clear evidence that those drug traffickers were from Venezuela, let alone that they were governed by Maduro in any of the sense. Obviously, US will prove that how these drug traffickers are related to the Venezuela's president. Now the next thing is what sanctions could the US face for its actions? The UN Security Council can impose sanctions on countries. Either it will be the easy or it's only an attempt to maintain peace. These can include trade restrictions, arms, and travel bans. However, five members of the Council, the US, China, Russia, UK, and France, have a veto on this, meaning any action taken against the US is unlikely to come into force. Sanctions have to be imposed by the Security Councils, and America is a member with a veto. Robertson said, this is important because it shows the Security Council is a worthless body. A country which breaks international law can avoid condemnation simply by vetoing it. The only body that can act will be effectuated by the American veto. It's also described that this situation seems impossible. If the Security Council cannot decide on sanctions, the countries can choose Better are not to follow them, she said. Because the US has veto power, the sanctions are never going to be decided there. What could this set globally? How the criteria set globally by this US or Trump action? If the US faces no consequences for the invasion of Venezuela, experts believe it could embolden other countries to carry out their operations, which may contravene international law. The most obvious consequences is that China will take the opportunity to invade Taiwan. This is the most appropriate time for it to do so. It's also indicating that Russia, although will carry its bombing on the Ukraine and will also think that they can invade the Ukraine. In fact, it would say that Trump's invasion of Venezuela is the crime of aggression, the same crime Putin has committed by the invading Ukraine. It's also adding that the world scenario may be the change after this incident. Obviously, in previous 3 to 5 years, the world is already struggling, and we can say that the weaker nations already struggling for their well-being. So now what will be the next? Soon we will say. For more interesting news, international news and agenda, stay tuned this channel. Enough for today. Soon I will meet in another video. Till then, take care of yourself.